Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on channel notifications, and share with your friends.
It was late at night, but I was still upset thinking about the situation at home. Time went on, and the pile of work that had to be done was never completed. "Larry, I'm going home. Be careful, you're at the office by yourself," said Reina, my lover, who also worked in the office. Staying overnight at the office was common for me. However, the situation at home was I still had to finish this work before the next day. My mind became more erratic. Who knew what's happening to my two younger siblings at home? As the oldest brother, protecting and caring for them was my primary duty. "What is it? You want to go again with your new girlfriend? What's her name? I forgot." Mom shouted from behind the door. Dad's voice was not heard. Instead, the sound of a vase thrown by Mom against the wall woke Peggy and Dean up from their sleep. Obviously, the commotion occurred in the middle of the night. Peggy and Dean had no idea what Dad and Mom were quarreling about.
"Larry, did I do something wrong to Dad and Mom? They don't even have time to be home."
Peggy's voice was soft, afraid to be heard by Dad and Mom, who were fighting in the living room. "Peggy didn't do anything wrong. Dad and Mom are looking for money for us, so you can buy anything later." I stroked her head. "You didn't do anything wrong. It's them who were acting like little children, never wanting to understand each other. So they had to sacrifice you, me, and Dean. They always followed their egos. In fact, maybe they had forgotten that we needed their love. Not only the sound of screaming and furniture slamming every day. I thought to myself, there's no way I could say that to Peggy. She didn't know about household conflicts like these. Then there was silence in the living room. Suddenly, Dad, who never replied to Mom's scolding, was now talking. The living room became noisy again. A lot of things were broken, messy, and many inappropriate words were spoken.
"You think I don't know about your relationship with your high school friend? What's his name? I forgot too."
Dad threw those spicy words. Not long after, the glass table in the living room was broken. Mom threw a flower vase right on the glass table. Dad held her shoulder, stared into her eyes, and pushed her down. I saw Peggy and Dean hiding under the blanket. I really wanted to break them up and make them aware they still have me, Peggy, and Dean. Proof of their love, which may have been forgotten. Dad and Mom were debating, as if the opponent could not hear what the other was saying. Mom was annoyed with Dad, who could only repeat his sentences.
"Just go with your new boyfriend, Anton. Just go away. No need to take care of us."
Mom threw pillows that were on the couch. Mom and Dad were ashamed of all that was seen by their children. Amidst the quarreling, I walked into the middle of them. This was my way to calm them down. What were they fighting for? Were they not ashamed of doing it in front of their children, who had yet to understand what they wanted? "Hey Larry, what are you walking there for? Is there no other way? Go to your room!" Mom shouted at me. I actually sat on the sofa that was filled with things that Mom had thrown away.
"What do you want, Larry?"
Dad shouted from the right side. "You want to know what I want?" I teased. Dad and Mom looked confused, looking at each other. Mom's annoyed face was already visible. Dad clenched, restrained his anger. "I want to watch. Even my favorite soccer match is not as exciting as your match." Mom threw the flower vase. It was far more exciting when my favorite player tried to score a goal. When you shouted here, and there it was, far more interesting than a commentator who kept talking non-stop. I smiled softly, still sitting on the couch staring at them. I was the one who knew them better. I was the child who had been born earlier than Peggy and Dean. So for me, fighting like this was like everyday food. But who couldn't stand it when the home continued to be filled with fighting?
"Shut your mouth, Larry. Go to your room. This is something you don't have to watch."
Dad snapped, pulled me off the couch and threw me on the floor. I stepped away. Walking towards the stairs, I stood there, looking at Dad and Mom. If you knew this is not something good to look at, Then why do you always fight in front of us? Have you never thought about Peggy's and Dean's feelings? They always hear you and see you fight, while you guys present this quarrel beautifully, better than the football match that I like. You still love us, right? There was no response, only a flower vase near the TV table that Mom had thrown. Blood. The sound of keyboard typing was heard alternately. The sound of the printers was as if they were talking to each other. My eyes opened slowly. Office routine had begun. Many people in uniform were pacing in front of me, bringing folders full of documents. A woman faintly seen from a distance was approaching me.
Larry, are you awake?
I saw you were very restful, said Raina. What? Is it already morning, Rain? Gosh, how could it be? How could I fall asleep here? I could be fired by my boss.
Calm down, Larry. I came earlier. I knew you must have fallen asleep at the office because I called you last night, but there was no answer.
Calm down? My work is not finished, Raina. What time is it already? I can't be scolded by my boss. I was angry as I stood up from my seat, busy arranging the papers on the table, fixing my clothes and trying to find a clock. 10 o'clock. My eyes glared sharply. Yeah, I'm so dead. Earlier, the boss came when you were sleeping. Raina grinned in front of me. What? I paced around confused, looking for excuses.
I gave your work to the boss already. I did a quarter of your work this morning. Calm down, Larry.
I hugged Raina. My happiness was immeasurable. I thought today was my last day of work. Lunch hour came. I showered in the office bathroom. Something like that was common to me, especially oversleeping. It was very common, so a stack of clean clothes was already in my desk drawer, in case I was late or overslept at the office. Last night, I remembered the incident 5 years ago, Rain. I missed them. Raina patted my shoulder. She knew how I felt. Moreover, she has been my girlfriend for 10 years. Let it go. Now you think of Peggy and Dean. They need you more than ever now. Today, I had to go home. It's been 2 days since I was home. Leaving Peggy and Dean, I couldn't go on like this, staying at the office, going back to work like that. The small house in the narrow alley always looked quiet. The only things visible were Peggy going out or going back from college occasionally, and Dean going out of the house. There was no happiness in the house. The landlord was pacing up front. Bills have piled up. She could not just leave this problem.
Larry's not home yet. I have no money. Later, if Larry returns, he will definitely pay you. This is still early in the month.
Liar! Every month, that's your excuse,
said the landlord.
You can't say you don't believe me. Just ask Peggy when she gets home from college. Larry, tomorrow me and Dean want to go to the hospital. I already have some money. Do you want to come?
Asked Peggy in the evening.
Shh, Peggy. Why are you asking him? He's definitely not coming.
Dean nudged Peggy's shoulder. Peggy felt guilty, annoyed. I want to go. Tomorrow we'll go there together. I've never been there. Peggy and Dean glared. Unbelievable. Since when did I want to visit Mom and Dad? The hospital was still quiet. The nurses were going back and forth, greeting each other. Many patients have woken up playing in their own world. When me, Peggy, and Dean passed by, there were patients who were tugging at our clothes. There were those who were smiling randomly. This was the first time I stepped my feet at our parents' new place, since the incident 5 years ago, when they were still fighting with each other, and finally, our house was confiscated. Peggy and Dean were used to this place. Whenever Peggy had collected enough money, working as a tutor, she always visited this place with Dean. Just to see a smile from our dad and mom was enough for her. My eyes caught a pair of patients in this hospital's garden swing. I wondered, was there love in a place like this? I couldn't stop staring, only seeing their backs. Maybe they were just a nurse and a doctor, I thought. Peggy tapped me on the shoulder.
Hey bro, why are you daydreaming? Why? Are you surprised to see the intimacy of dad and mom?
I turned my head. It felt like the world was like a dream that I had longed for. I'd never seen Dad and Mom this friendly with each other. I approached the swing, staring at their faces. Dad and Mom were old. Mom leaned her head on his shoulder. The mom I saw last time was very fierce and never had tears in her eyes. Now, tears welled up in her sweet face.
Dad and Mom have always been like this, since that incident. That's why me and Peggy always wanted to come here. We missed these moments.
I was stunned. I touched my mom's face and wiped her tears. Mom smiled at me. Her hand landed on my cheek and she smiled at me. Dad stroked my hair, which seemed much neater than when I was a teenager.
This is God's way, a way to unite them. Maybe this way they can be together like they used to when they fell in love. God is just, right?
I just nodded. I began to embrace Dad and Mom, hugging them tightly, caressing the people I loved so much, crying as hard as possible. I could no longer say a word, no longer able to hate them. I only felt a deep longing and unimaginable regret. I looked at Mom and could no longer hold back my tears. Her hand pulled me. She kissed my forehead.
Larry. I missed Larry.